Mia often found herself awake long after midnight, not from insomnia exactly, but from the quiet restlessness that came with living alone. Her apartment was clean, quiet, and comfortable, but too still, too settled. She'd grown used to the silence over the years, but lately, it started to feel more like absence. Tonight, like most nights, she lay curled on her side, the faint blue glow of her laptop casting soft shadows across her sheets. Her bare legs were tangled in the blankets, a single hand resting near the keyboard. The rest of her apartment was in darkness, except for the small lamp in the hallway she kept on out of habit. Just enough light to make it feel like she wasn't completely alone. She wasn't looking for anything in particular when she joined the late-night chat room. The site was anonymous, minimal, and quietly alive with other nameless people, typing into the void. No photos, no usernames beyond self-chosen nicknames, just fragments of presence floating in the dark. Her chosen name was simple. Echo. A little too poetic, maybe, but it fit. That's when Late Note appeared. Late Note. You always hear this time of night, Echo? Echo. Most nights. You? Late Note. Just started. Thought I'd try listening to strangers instead of music. Echo. Dangerous habit. Strangers talk more than music does. Late Note. That's the point. She smiled. There was something calm about his tone. Not flirty, not demanding, just present. She liked that. The conversation drifted, unhurried. They talked about music first, then movies. He asked if she ever watched films just for the mood, not the story. She said yes. He said, I like things that move slowly. That line stayed with her longer than it should have. Late Note. You write like someone who thinks before speaking. Echo. And you write like someone who wants to be heard but not found. No reply for a while. Then, Late Note. That might be the most accurate thing anyone said to me all year. She left her hand resting on her stomach, just under the hem of her shirt. The air in the room felt warmer suddenly. Around 2 a.m., after they'd both confessed their mutual dislike for small talk and their shared craving for late-night cereal, he wrote, Late Note. Do you ever think about someone you've never seen? In that way. Mia didn't reply right away. She stared at the screen, heart tapping a slow rhythm in her chest. Echo. Yes. He didn't push, just responded with a single line. Late Note. Me too. Something about the simplicity of it stirred something low in her belly. The idea that two people, separated by screens, time, anonymity, could be so quietly in sync. It wasn't explicit. It didn't need to be. She shifted under the sheets, her thighs brushing together. That slow ache building under her skin wasn't unfamiliar, but it was sharper now, more alive to him. After a few minutes of silence, he typed again. Late Note. Tell me one thing you'd do to me if we weren't strangers. She stared at the blinking cursor. Her fingers hovered above the keys. Echo. I'd trace your lips with mine, just slow enough to make you stop breathing. There. Sent. No reply. She waited, biting her lower lip. The pause felt endless. Then, Late Note. You're dangerous, Echo. She smiled. Her cheeks were hot, her body humming with the kind of quiet tension that only comes in the dark, when no one else is watching. And in that moment, alone in her bed, lit only by the glow of the screen, and the warmth of a stranger's attention, Mia felt less alone than she had in months. They didn't talk every night. Sometimes a day or two passed without a message, and Mia found herself watching the clock during those silences, wondering if she had imagined it all, if she'd crossed a line with that one reply about tracing his lips. But when he returned, it was never awkward. Their rhythm picked up exactly where it had left off, as if their conversation had simply paused mid-thought and waited patiently to resume. Late note. I like that you didn't tell me everything at once. Echo. You never asked everything at once. Late note. I like patience. It makes everything sharper. She liked the way he typed, short bursts that hinted at control. He never over-explained, never dropped compliments like bait. Instead, he responded in ways that made her feel like he was truly paying attention. And in that attention, she began to let go, inch by inch. One night, she sent the first message. Echo. Want to play something with me? Late note. Depends. What kind of game? Echo. Word association. But honest. First thing that comes to mind. Late note. You start. She typed. Touch. His reply, pulse. Her, mouth. Him, heat. She paused, thigh. He waited a little longer, tension. She was already shifting under her covers. Breath slower, deeper. Her free hand had found its way beneath her sleep shirt, palm resting warm and flat on her stomach. Echo. Want me to keep going? Late note. Only if you don't stop halfway. Echo. Brave of you to assume I'd stop. Late note. Dangerous of you to sound like that. She wasn't sure what that meant, but she could feel it in her own voice as she imagined saying those words aloud. Low, husky, deliberate. Later, when her mind was half lost in her own movements, fingers teasing just at the edge, hips pressing softly into the mattress, she left the chat open, his name glowing quietly on her screen. She didn't describe anything she was doing. She didn't have to. She knew he was there, knew he felt it too. The stillness between them was the kind of silence that hums with potential. After a long pause, a single message arrived. Late note. I can almost hear you. Her breath hitched. She let herself sink into that sentence, into the fantasy that he was close, not across town, but just across the room, watching from a distance, imagining her the same way she imagined him. That idea alone pushed her over the edge, her body curling into the sheets with a quiet gasp she didn't try to suppress. She didn't reply that night, and neither did he. But the next evening, a small notification blinked in her inbox, not in the chat, but through a file-sharing link, a music file. Curious, she downloaded it and hit play. Piano, slow and aching, a pulsing rhythm, soft at first, then building gradually like breath. A man's voice, his, she assumed, whispered poetry between chords. It wasn't romantic, it was want, tension made into melody. It felt timed. As the music slowed near the end, she realized it mirrored the rhythm she'd moved to the night before, down to the quiet gasp where her breath had hitched. Had he been listening? Had he just guessed? She played the track again, louder this time. She closed her eyes, let it move through her. The next morning, Mia made coffee in silence, the steam curling upward like a question she couldn't yet form. The music file still echoed in her thoughts. in her body. It wasn't just that the track had matched her breath, her rhythm. It was the intent behind it, the intimacy, the deliberate closeness without touch. Whoever Late Note was, he had somehow written himself into her pulse. She spent the rest of the day distracted, checking her phone for a new message, even when she knew it wouldn't come so soon. At 10:42 p.m., it finally did. Late Note, did it move you? She typed, then deleted, then typed again. Echo. I didn't know anyone could hear what I didn't say. Late Note. I didn't hear, I felt. Echo. That's worse. Late Note. Why? Echo. Because now I want to know what your hands feel like when you're feeling. He was quiet for almost 10 minutes, long enough for her to regret sending it, long enough for doubt to bloom, and then vanish as his reply appeared. Late Note. Warm, slow, intentional. Late Note. Like that piano. Would you let them trace the curve of your back if I asked gently enough? She exhaled, long and low, the tip of her finger pressing against her lower lip. Everything about the way he wrote made her body answer before her mind had the chance to process. Echo. Only if you promise not to stop at my back. Late Note. Then I wouldn't promise anything. A few days passed. The temperature in the city dropped, rain streaking down her window in lazy vertical lines. She hadn't asked where he lived, and he hadn't offered. That was part of the game. The allure of not knowing, of letting mystery fuel imagination. But then it slipped out. She mentioned a corner cafe by name. A place with bad coffee but perfect window seats. He replied too quickly. Late Note. On Sycamore Street? The one with the mismatched mugs? Her stomach flipped. Echo. You know it? Late Note. I live 4 blocks from there. Her fingers froze above the keys. 4 blocks. The fantasy had always been that he could be anyone anywhere. Now the map in her mind was changing. He was close, walkable, real. Echo. We could have passed each other a dozen times. Late Note. Maybe we have. Echo. What if we have? Late Note. Then I've been looking at you without knowing I was looking for you. She closed her laptop slowly, the conversation still open. Her heart was thudding now, not with fear, but with heat, with tension. That night, as she walked to the store for groceries, she caught herself scanning faces. Not for someone specific, but for the idea of him. And then, near the corner by the bookstore, she heard it. The soft hum of a piano melody spilling from an open window above. Not the same song, but the same hands. She stood still for a long moment, eyes lifted to the windows, but saw only curtains. When she got home, a new message was waiting. Late Note. I saw you today. Echo. Where? Late Note. You looked up when the music started. Echo. That was you? Late Note. I didn't know if I wanted to be found. Echo. And now? Late Note. Now I want to know what color your eyes are when you want something. She hesitated only a second. Echo. Darker than usual. Late Note. Good. I'll keep playing then. Late Note. Maybe next time you'll stay a little longer. That night, she fell asleep to silence. But her body remembered every note. It happened just after midnight. A simple message. No preamble. Late Note, call me. She stared at it, pulse jumping in her throat. He'd never asked that before. They'd never exchanged voices, just words. Words felt safe, even when they burned. But hearing him, letting him hear her, that was something else. Realer, riskier. Mia hesitated. She brushed a curl behind her ear, heart thudding as she typed. Echo. Now? Late. Note, unless you're afraid to ruin the fantasy. Echo. Maybe I want to test it. Late note. Then test me. He sent a number. Just digits. No name. She took a breath, dimmed the light beside her bed, and pressed call. 1 ring. 2. Click. Silence. Then, his voice. Echo. Just one word. Low, calm, a little rough at the edges. She closed her eyes, letting it settle over her skin. You sound exactly like I imagined, he added. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. I don't, she said softly. You do. Like someone who tastes her words before saying them. That made her smile. Do you always speak like that? He chuckled. Quiet. Warm. Only when I'm not sure if I'm about to cross a line. There was a long pause. Not awkward. Just held. I like your voice, she whispered. Say something else, he said. She thought for a moment. Then, I'm wearing a shirt that's too big, no bra, and I'm curled under a blanket, wondering if your voice is going to make me do something I shouldn't. His breath caught, just slightly, and then he responded, lower now. Maybe I want to make you do something you shouldn't. Mia rolled to her side, one hand resting on her hip. Then tell me. What would you let me do if I asked without touching you? She bit her lip. Her whole body felt like a live wire. I'd let you tell me where to put my hands, she said slowly. And I'd listen. There was a beat of quiet on the line. She could hear him breathing, deep, deliberate. Then put your hand on your neck, he said, lightly, like you want to calm yourself. She obeyed. Her fingers found the curve beneath her ear, her pulse. Good, he murmured. Now slide it down, over your collarbone, slowly, like you're memorizing your own skin. She exhaled, did as he said. Now under the shirt, just past the fabric. Stop at your breast. Don't touch yet. The anticipation made her squirm. Her nipple was already hard, aching. Can I? She whispered. Yes, he said, but just one. Like you're teasing me, not yourself. She moaned, soft, surprised by how quickly her body responded. She heard him exhale sharply. I want to see you, he said, voice thicker now. But not like this. Not by accident. I want you to choose it. I don't even know your name, she breathed. You don't need it tonight. She nodded, though he couldn't see her. Her body was flushed, her thighs pressed together, hips shifting. I want you to keep touching, he said, voice a whisper now. But only if you want it as much as I do. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The next sound he heard was a quiet gasp through the speaker. Her breathing changed, faster, more open. her moan small, involuntary. And then, his name. Not his real one. Not a name at all, just, please, she whispered. Tell me what you want. He said, everything. She said, I want everything. And in that moment, nothing about the distance between them felt real. Only their voices, their breath, their heat. Only that. She didn't expect to see him the next day. Mia had assumed they'd need time, space to retreat into safety, to analyze what their voices had done to each other in the dark. But around noon, a message arrived. Short, no hesitation. Late note, let me see you. She stared at it, rereading the words 3 times. He'd never asked for photos, never hinted. And yet this felt like the gentlest kind of bold. She typed, Echo. Come to me, but don't bring a mask. A pause. Late note. No mask. No pretenses. Just me. She spent the next 2 hours, not dressing up, not cleaning obsessively, not overthinking. She lit 1 candle. Wore soft cotton. Not lace, not silk. Let her hair fall the way it wanted. Her body was humming, but not with nerves, with readiness. A knock came at 6:42 p.m. She opened the door without a word. And there he was. He looked exactly like she hadn't imagined. Taller, yes, darker hair, hands in the pockets of his coat. But what struck her was the familiarity in the way he looked at her. Like he already knew the sounds she made when she was just on the edge of a moan. Like he'd memorized the breath behind her silence. Neither of them smiled. She stepped back. He entered. The door clicked shut behind him. And for a moment, neither of them moved. I don't even know your name, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Does it matter? He asked gently. No, she replied. Not right now. She stepped toward him first. No hesitation. No small talk. Her fingers found the hem of his shirt, tugging it free. His breath caught. Touch me like you said you would, she whispered. He did. His hands came to her waist, then slid around to her back, pulling her in slowly, not greedily, like he wanted to savor the moment her body fit against his. They kissed, but not hungrily. Their mouths met in stillness, a shared inhale, a long-awaited pause. Then the heat came. Mia's hands were at his chest, sliding under fabric, pressing into his skin. His fingers traced her sides, reverent and slow. They didn't speak. Every word they could have said had already been typed in the dark. Now it was about discovery. Clothes fell away naturally, without urgency. She led him to the couch, not the bed. It felt more intimate that way. They sank onto it together, skin against skin, bare legs sliding over his, breath catching in new places. He explored her with the patience of someone who had dreamed about every curve before touching it. His fingers grazed the underside of her breast, his lips finding her neck, then collarbone, then lower. She arched into him, not needing instruction. He paused at the edge of her, looking up. Mia touched his cheek, no permission needed. She whispered, and he obeyed. His mouth moved with slow precision, like he'd studied her reactions even before he'd known her name. She moaned, hands threading through his hair, her thighs tightening around him as the pressure built and broke. She came quietly, as she had imagined she would. Not with fireworks, but with something deeper. A long, trembling release. She hadn't realized how much tension she'd held in her body until it left her all at once. He kissed his way back up to her, and they held each other. For a long moment, neither of them moved, and then she pulled him on top of her. There was no awkwardness, no fumbling, just skin, just breath. And when he slid inside her, slow and steady, she exhaled, like she'd finally opened a door she didn't know was locked. They moved together as if syncing a rhythm already written. Soft gasps, parted lips, her nails dragging lightly across his back. He whispered her name like it wasn't a name, but a tether. Something to ground him in the heat of it all. When he came, it was with his forehead pressed to hers. Both of them trembling, both of them quiet. Later, they lay curled against each other, the candle flickering on the table, casting gold across bare skin. He ran a finger down her arm, slow. "Still think I ruined the fantasy?" he murmured. She smiled, eyes closed. "No," she said. "You just gave it a body." Mia woke to the scent of him. It lingered on the pillow beside her. Warm skin, faint soap, and something darker, richer, like cedar and the memory of sex. The sheets were tangled, the candle long gone cold. Morning light slid through the blinds in pale stripes across their bodies. He was still there. His back was to her, bare and relaxed, one arm draped over his eyes as he lay on his side. She watched the slow rise and fall of his chest and thought, "I know the sound of your breath before I know your last name." And she liked it that way. She slid closer, her leg brushing his. He stirred, then smiled without opening his eyes. "Are you watching me sleep?" "I'm cataloguing your existence," she murmured, "for future reference." He turned to her, propping himself up on one elbow. His voice was low, roughened by sleep. "You always talk like that in the morning." "Only when I'm this bare." His eyes traced the line of her collarbone, the curve of her shoulder. "You're not just bare, Mia. You're honest." "That's rarer." Something in her tightened, not with fear, but vulnerability. Not the kind she wanted to run from. They stayed like that for a while. No rush, no need to speak unless it mattered. They touched gently. Hands that didn't need to learn anymore, only remember. Eventually, he stood and padded to the kitchen, stark naked, completely at ease. She laughed into the pillow as he reached for the French press, like it was just another quiet morning. When he returned with two mismatched mugs, hers chipped, his blank, he sat cross-legged on the couch, and she joined him in nothing but a blanket. He looked at her for a long moment. "I lied to you," he said softly. Her heart caught. "About what?" "My name." She raised an eyebrow. "I mean, I never gave it. That's the lie." He smiled. "It's not dramatic, it's just, I liked being a voice in the dark." "And now?" she asked. He reached for her hand. "Now I want to be something you remember in the light." She didn't respond with words, just leaned in, her forehead resting against his, and whispered, "Then stay." They didn't become anything official, not immediately. No declarations, no status changes. But over the next few weeks, something real began to root itself in the quiet spaces between them. They still messaged, sometimes from opposite ends of the same couch. The rhythm never left them. She'd type something coy, and he'd lean over to kiss the side of her neck instead of replying. They built something wordless, an intimacy threaded with both silence and heat. One evening, as rain pattered softly outside, she handed him a small flash drive. "What's this?" he asked. "My voice," she said. "My music." He blinked. "You sing?" She nodded, suddenly shy. "I never sent it to anyone. I wrote it the night we first talked." He slid it into his laptop. Hit play. It began quietly. Just a single note, held long and low. Then her voice joined, soft, smooth, unfiltered. There were no lyrics, only sound. Humming, rising, falling like breath. He closed his eyes. When the track ended, he turned to her. "That's what you sound like when you want something," he said. She blushed. "And what do I sound like when I have it?" He reached for her. Like this. They didn't talk about what they were. They didn't need to. The quiet was enough. And in that quiet, two people who once hid behind screens and nicknames built something tangible. Not from noise, but from attention, patience, and the softest kind of desire. Not everything needs to be loud to be unforgettable. Some things, Mia realized, are most powerful when whispered.